Want to call the meeting to order. In accordance with the requirements of the New Jersey statutes regarding open public meetings, notice of this meeting was legally advertised in the Courier Post and the South Jersey Times and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Fire exits are located through the double doors on your right and your left. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Longfellow? Ms. Pasqualone?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Fazio?
Mr. Fazio had a funeral to attend today, so he will not be present tonight.
Mayor Gattinelli?
Here.
Mr. Platt?
Present.
Mr. Gontar?
Mr. Gontar is on a vacation that was planned and prepaid prior to his appointment to his position as a business administrator, and he's not here this evening either.
Thank you. We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, I'm now going to defer to the mayor.
Thank you.
The two mayoral appointments?
Yes.
Mr. Everett Hoffman, U.S. Guard veteran, is appointed to the Veteran Affairs Advisory Board.
Second one, too.
Okay. As Captain Robert Borkowski is retiring at the end of March, the mayor is making the appointment of Ernie DeRazio, the Emergency Management Coordinator, in keeping with mayoral appointments.
And that will be for the Office of Emergency Management, OEM. And that'll take effect as of April 1st, 2017.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the modified agenda and move to executive session and resolutions up in the agenda before the bill list.
Second?
Second.
I'll make that motion.
Roll call?
She made the motion.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
I need a new resolution now.
1/15/2017.
Correct.
Resolution 115-217, resolution authorizing executive session for litigation.
Please state the litigations, Mr. President.
Litigation, Capehart and Scatcherd, Tarasevich, and litigation 2, threatened litigation, salary ordinance petition.
I'll need a motion to adopt the resolution and to go into executive session, because we're going to go into executive session at the front end. As I understand it, we have an attorney here, so it's been the policy of the board not to make private attorneys wait because it costs the township more money.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. President. Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
We're going to go into executive session now. I anticipate the executive session to last approximately 30 minutes. If it lasts much longer, I'll come out and make another announcement.
Make a motion to return to public meeting.
Make that motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here. Yes.
All right, we're back in open public session.
Okay, resolutions. Resolution 093-2017, a resolution approving the amusement game license for 2017 for Nifty 50s located at 4670 Route 42, Turnersville, New Jersey, 08012.
Make that motion?
Second.
This is a motion to take off the table, because we had tabled this.
Okay.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Now motion to approve, sir.
Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next two resolutions involve renting open space area which the township owns. As such, and in keeping with the past, it is maintained as a farm and separate residence. The amount is being kept the same as a result of recommendations from the Open Space Committee and the administration. When it was raised the last time, no one stepped forward. Money from the lease agreement goes back into the open space account to buy more open space and/or to improve and maintain our open space. Resolution,
Mr. President, I would recommend we do both the next two resolutions as one.
okay. So it's Resolution 109-2017 and Resolution 110-2017.
Could you please read the titles of both resolutions, Mr. Selb?
The Resolution 109 is solicit bids for the lease of property owned by the Township of Washington, known as 220 Fish Pond Road, Sewell, New Jersey, Block 85.32, Lot 21, for the use as a single-family residential home. Resolution 110, 2017 is to solicit bids for the lease of property owned by the Township of Washington, known as 220 Fish Pond Road, Sewell, New Jersey, Block 85.32, Lot 21, for agricultural purposes.
Motion to approve?
Make that motion for both.
Second.
Any discussions? Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
No, you went too far, boss. Go back. We're doing 111. We're doing this one now. Yeah, we're going to do this one now.
111 and 112 together.
We can do 111, 112 together, we just have to read the titles.
Okay, Resolution 111-2017, and we're going to do Resolution 112-217. Canceling taxes for ONF Nerdney, a totally disabled veteran, and authorizing refund of tax overpayments.
I'll make the motion for both.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes to both.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes to both.
And Mr. Perry?
Yes to both. Okay. Next resolution, this is a large gathering permit, is being granted to allow one of our businesses to hold an event on Saturday, April 1st, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the shopping center at 245 Fries Mill Road. Please stop by if you have the opportunity for it. Resolution R-113-217, approving large gathering application for Earthwise Pet Supply and Grooming. Motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Second.
I just wanted to announce also that at 10 a.m. there will be a ribbon cutting from the Washington Township Chamber of Commerce, and mayor and council and administration are invited to attend.
Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Now 114.
We going to do that one?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 114-217, entry into the settlement agreement and litigation involving Tarasevich versus the Township of Washington.
Just for the record, understand that this is really three matters that are being resolved in one. It's being recommended by our Labor Council, and because the settlement is so early in the process, it is below the so-called insurance deductible, or the SIR, and the public, and because of that, it involves the expenditure of public funds of $35,000.
Okay, motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay. Approval of the bill list for March 22nd, 2017, with the attached amendments.
Make that motion.
Second. Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay. Approval of regular minutes of the March 8, 2017 meeting. Motion to approve? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Approval of executive session meeting minutes of March 8, 2017. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay, ordinances. Ordinance 005, 2017. Ordinance amending Chapter 179 of the Code of Township of Washington entitled Property Maintenance and Housing Standards. The motion is to postpone until after publication and reschedule for a public hearing and adoption on April 12, 2017.
Got to get a motion to table.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Old business. These are requests from a member of the public. While the resolutions may be possible if you decide the video posting would only be for a period of 90 days due to the volume of storage space that it would take up and the cost for the extra storage space on our website, correct? As we are being forced to obtain a new provider, we will need to wait to discuss this with them before we can make any decisions.
Yes, Mr. President, that's correct. It has to do with our IT provider, and this is on the agenda tonight to discuss because a resident brought it up last meeting. He was in to see me, and that's why I put it on here, so you would have an opportunity to discuss your thoughts on this. But ultimately, we have to wait till our new IT provider comes on board because we got to see that this is going to work.
Okay.
Discussion from anyone?
Just wait until we have.
Well, we would like some feedback because our current IT service provider advised the township just a couple of weeks ago that they're going out of business. So our qualified purchasing agent has gotten 3 qualified bids and will be awarding the bid under the statute to one of those companies. But in part of that process, we want some feedback from council as to, because part of their service is going to be to put, if it's your choice, to put the tapes of the meetings on the website. So we want to find out about that. So if you're not interested in doing it, we don't have to ask the question. But if you are interested in doing it as a consensus, just let us know and we will raise that question with the new IT provider.
And that is the videotapes and the resolutions as draft resolutions for the public.
Has the bid been advertised
It doesn't have to be because it's
under
it's-
the 17.5 threshold?
pardon?
Under 17.5?
It's under 40,000. The QPA limit is 40,000, but we did get 3 bids in any event. The good news is one of the bids, an individual with the old company appears to now is going to be working for one of the new companies that put in a bid. So there may be some continuity with that.
Is there going to be any extra cost for new equipment? I mean, what we have, is it antiquated or?
One of the first things that I've been talking to the people involved in this, because of the experience I've had in other municipalities, is that they're going to come in and take an inventory of our equipment. It's one of the first things they'll do. They'll try and decide how old it is and hopefully come up with a game plan for replacement over a number of years. We may have a whole lot of different operating systems. We get a different software. There may not be consistency throughout the building. And that's one of the first things that they're going to look at. And should they come up with some recommendations, it would be something that would come before the committee, the council, and there may be some long-range long-term replacement plans that'll go into effect after consulting with council and listening to our IT provider.
What methods are you using for your selection process?
The qualified purchasing agent, Robin Sarlo, has gotten together, all of the information that we need from a servicing standpoint between our computer system and our phones were serviced as well by the old IT firm, and has put in essentially a spreadsheet of information that we need to keep the same or equal or better service for the township. And they, through that process, and she went through it, all, very detailed process as to what we have now, what kind of services are provided now, and what kind of services are out there. And we got very substantial quotes and bids with the structure of what they would be providing and the pricing on all of that. And I didn't review the bids in full. That's her area. But what I saw is that remember, they're service providers. Now, there's not new equipment per se. They're service providers with cloud backup and all of that for documents and records. It's going to be a monthly service fee. I believe the three quotes are roughly the same, but I think there will be an increase from what we're paying now for the company that's going out of business.
Can I look at a copy of those, or review a copy of those documents before we make a decision?
Absolutely. You're more than welcome to speak to Robin and get that information.
Great.
And if you have any IT background, any knowledge that you have would be most appreciated and welcome.
Thank you.
So again, should we tell the IT people that there's an interest, there's a consensus that you would want the meeting videos as well as the resolutions on the website?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Any more old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Anybody have anything?
No new business at this
Defer to
time.
the mayor.
You want reports or new business?
Mayor Gattinelli, you have any new business?
I have just some information that I wanted to report.
You
Go ahead.
Pull your mic down, Miss.
I'm going
Mike?
to come down.
Oh, okay.
I'm coming down.
Okay, that works over there. That works over there.
Mayor, I'm just turning the, yeah.
We have none, so you can just skip over.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Hello? Okay. Just making sure you can hear me. I just wanted to stand before the residents of Washington Township and let you know what we've been working on for this first quarter. I feel that it's necessary at this time for me to stand before you and let you know all the important features, everything that's going on behind the scenes, what we're working on, and where we are, where we stand at this point, making Washington Township a better area. This is what we're looking to do. To the residents of Washington Township, I want to start out first with the budget. The following is a status of the 2017 municipal budget. As of today, the preliminary form of the budget has been completed. I am pleased to announce that the preliminary findings show it is not anticipated that there will be an increase municipal property taxes for the 2017 year. In fact, after public sessions, thank you. In fact, after public sessions with the department heads, council, and administration, there is a chance of a small reduction in 2017 municipal property taxes. In order to achieve this, administration, through extensive work with the department heads, have worked diligently to make sure all operational revenues and appropriations are consistent with the needs of the township. In the instance of needed additional appropriations, a detailed cost-benefit analysis of each situation was considered. Finally, as in previous years, a reasonable amount of surplus was needed to balance the budget. However, due to the amount in reserve and the projected efficiency in managing operations in 2017, It is projected that the reasonable amount of surplus needed will be regenerated, increasing the surplus to a prudent governmental standard. The budget schedule is as follows. Public open budget hearing dates will be as follows. Tuesday, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday, April 6th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. These hearings will be held in the council room. We are also going to put this on the website. If you're familiar, we have been working on that diligently, so this information will be available to all. Introduction of the 2017 municipal budget is anticipated to take place at the council meeting on April 12, 2017. Adoption of the 2017 municipal budget is anticipated to take place during the council meeting on May 10, 2017. Resident involvement and transparency with my administration is very important. This is why, in addition to our public open budget hearings, we decided to provide small group workshops for a more personal experience to hear ideas from the residents. When I first announced our weekly small group budget workshops, we designated Thursdays at 11 a.m. as the time for meetings because we were considering the hours in which our employees work. To accommodate those who work during the day, we have added 2 additional small group budget workshops on the evenings of Tuesday, April 4th and Monday, April 10th, both from 6 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. The purpose of these meetings is to have constructive dialogue to positively move the town forward as it relates to the budget so that we can consider these ideas before and after proposing the budget. Please call, and there's going to be information on the website. I can read off the name and the phone number, but you're welcome to look for it on the website. Please call Megan Tahan at 856-589-0520, extension 287, and her email, mtahan@township.washington.nj.us, to reserve your time slot and schedule. Another area that we've been working on, which is key, is communication channels. Additional efforts to increase communication between the residents and township administration are reflected in our new social media channels. We have been frequently updating our website and Facebook, along with our new Twitter and Instagram accounts. As we know, people like to digest their news across many platforms. I am thankful to be able to write a column in the Washington Township Sun newspaper each week to give updates on what is happening in the township and what the administration is involved in. We are working with Gloucester County to familiarize ourselves with the Everbridge program. It's a service program that provides residents the opportunity to sign up for updates through the channels they prefer, such as email or texting. This will keep the public updated on important news such as emergencies and other announcements. This type of information is now posted on our website, and we continue to look for ways to communicate effectively and efficiently with our residents, using channels that they are most comfortable and familiar with. We are also available via the phone and email. I have stressed with township employees that I want to make sure we are responsive to all requests, considering the time and effort it takes for residents to bring questions, issues, and ideas to our attention. Another area of concern was human resources. Unfortunately, the township had not had a human resource officer. We felt the need for this. In terms of increasing the level of service we provide to the township, we are looking to ensure the work environment is strictly professional. To reinforce this type of working environment and to minimize potential lawsuits between and/or from employees, we have created an official human resources officer. We are currently scheduling ongoing quarterly reviews with all department heads to evaluate year-to-date goal tracking and performance. Additionally, we will be conducting drug screening and criminal background checks for all potential new hires to Washington Township to ensure the individuals are fit to serve the public. Economic development, another key issue. I continue to work closely with the Economic Development Committee to develop plans to bring in new businesses and retain existing businesses. We are excited to build upon the services and products our town has to offer. We are looking to make the process of bringing business to Washington Township efficient on the business owners and developers by restructuring our involvement when needed. We are willing to do the difficult work and ask the difficult questions so we can make Washington Township known as a place that is business friendly. some cost-saving initiatives. We have proactively put the township's banking service out to RFP, request for financial proposal, and have obtained 3 proposals from different financial institutions. This will allow us the opportunity to reduce fees and increase services and credit interest rates. The business administrator and I have met with Property Tax Card Services to obtain information about creating a Shop Washington Township program. If you're familiar with other towns in this area, there's quite a few that have this, and it's been very successful. So it is something that we're considering, and it will be rolled out soon. This program will add third quarter annual property tax rebates for residents who shop and patron businesses within Washington Township. We want to build small businesses here. It can also increase revenues to local businesses by encouraging customers' loyalty to businesses within Washington Township. We are looking to present the program in the second half of 2017, and we will RFP for the vendor. Washington Township currently uses the New Jersey State Health Benefits Plan for employees' benefits. The state utilizes Horizon and Aetna as their carrier/networks, and employees can pick from multiple plans from both carriers for both active and retired employees. I am happy to say that Councilman Joe Perry brought in an outside healthcare consultant to perform a free cost analysis for the township employees' health plans and make recommendations based on the exact demographics of our active and retired employees. The consultant's findings are that creating a new option within the New Jersey State Health Plan could save approximately 17% for active and 12% for retired employees. Washington Township's implementation of this new option could reflect the following savings. Projected annual savings, $852,000. Projected monthly savings, $71,000. A summary memo was drafted by the business administrator and sent to all council members on March 16, 2017, detailing the proposal and requesting feedback. Prior to my administration, there was no formal vehicle fleet replacement and accountability plan set in place. At my direction, the business administrator has been working with the department heads from Public Works, Zoning, Construction, as well as the Chief of Police to put together a formal plan. This plan involves reducing insurance payments by eliminating obsolete and unused vehicles between the departments. This cost reduction plan will allow for reducing the fleet size, selling specific vehicles to recoup funds, and create efficiency. So we are using our resources wisely. The business administrator and chief financial officer are also working with Enterprise to perform an in-depth study and evaluation to explore a hybrid model of fleet leasing, further reducing fuel and service costs. Currently, we have 74 out of 154 vehicles that are over 10 years old, and many predate anti-lock brakes and electronic stability control safety features. These safety features enhancements will allow the township to further reduce insurance costs. Again, I would like to thank all the residents of Washington Township for your support. Thank you to the many individuals who have reached out directly to me to offer their confidence and constructive ideas. We appreciate your patience, as I had stated in the past, as we listen to your concerns, find different ways to move the township forward, and do what is truly best for all our deserving residents. I thank you tonight, allowing me to stand up here before you and read to you what we have been working on within this first quarter. I want patience to be given by all. We are working hard. We're working diligently. There's so much to offer in this town. We just want to make it better, and we have a lot going on behind the scenes. You'll see. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll now be moving on to public participation. I would like to remind you,
Can we do reports? She has something.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, my first time.
Sorry.
We have reports.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. None at this time.
Am I right first?
Do you have any reports? Okay. No, I said none at this time.
I don't have anything. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I do. Okay, so the Economic Development Board We met with the Gloucester County Director of Economic Development, Tom Bianco, and freeholder Heather Simmons this week to discuss strategies, grants, and other shared services opportunities to help Washington Township in areas in which we are lacking right now. I've also been working with Maureen Pasternak with the Chamber of Commerce to have businesses become part of the chambers that are not currently right now in Washington Township. We actually have a new member that just joined yesterday, and we are having a ribbon cutting this Saturday, I guess that's the 28th, I think, at Champion Martial Arts. They're having their grand opening. It's 309 Fries Mill Road, and the ribbon cutting is at 11 a.m., and all of council, administration, and mayor, of course, are also invited to attend that as well. Just wanted to give a special thanks to Councilman Joe Perry and also Clerk Leo. They both took time out of their busy day on St. Patrick's Day to come to Bell's School, one dressed as a leprechaun, one speaking as an Irish man, and were able to give chocolate gold to my students and visit along with the rest of Bell's School, and they were very appreciative. My students extend their thank you to you. Also coming up is April 2nd, there is a Brady's Buddies 5K color run at the park. For any information on that, you can contact Lisa Collins. And then there is a wine tasting hosted by the Washington Township Chamber. It's on April 28th at Wedgwood Country Club from 7 to 10 p.m. They're hosting over 200 wines, handcrafted beers, and spirits from New Jersey and around the world, as well as fabulous selection of hot and cold hors d'oeuvres with different stations, and all of the proceeds from this event go to the Washington Township Chamber of Commerce Scholarship Fund, in which they give to they've given to Washington Township graduating seniors, and to date they've given $71,000 from this program. So if anyone is able to attend this event, again, it's on April 28th at the Wedgwood Country Club. I can send you the email if you would like to send it out to all the administration. So,
Please do.
and those are all my reports.
I just have a clock report. I think this clock is not kept up with the daylight saving time.
The maintenance staff will get on it.
Any other reports? Okay, we'll now move on to public participation. I'd like to remind anybody from the public that's coming up to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please refrain from making comments when somebody is speaking, as it makes it hard to hear what the people are saying. Speak into the microphone and say your first and last name clearly and slowly for the purposes of the record. Thank you. Make a motion to open to the public.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Donato?
Yes.
Ms. Pasqualone?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. Okay, we are now open to the public.
Good evening. My name is Giancarlo Dorazio. I live in Washington Township. Mr. Perry, does the mayor have your contact information, such as your cell number or email address, to communicate with you?
She has my work at,
Okay. Did you ever communicate with the mayor for things like grand opening, attending grand openings in town, or
could you repeat that, please?
did you ever communicate with the mayor via cell phone or email address on items to go on the agenda or anything that's going on in town? In other words, have you ever communicated with the mayor with your cell phone?
No.
She doesn't have your contact information?
What contact information are you in particular?
Your cell
looking for?
number? Your email address?
I don't use my cell number for township business. I use the phones in here.
Do you ever communicate with the mayor other than in the council meeting?
When I talk to her at the meeting.
You do?
Where are we going with this?
Well, I just want to know, do you communicate during council meetings within
Yes.
the 2 weeks with the administration to share ideas, educate yourself on what's coming up in the meetings?
I stop into the municipal building, and I use my municipal email account.
Okay, so you do communicate with them?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That was a simple question, but I have questions regarding Resolution 108, 2017. Resolution authorizing the township solicitor to take legal action against former township business administrator, Robert Smith, to recover monies and property paid. I am well aware of your 5-minute limit, and you can stop me when I reach the 5 minutes, or you can allow me to continue. But you can stop me or any other individual, but you will not be able to stop the community. So if I should run out of time, someone else will follow and continue the questions. I basically have a few questions for you. Such as, when was the first time you found out about this issue of Bob Smith? Mr. Perry? Mr. Perry, it's a simple question.
Okay, I'm going to advise and instruct everybody on this council that that matter is in the process of litigation or anticipation of litigation, and going to instruct and advise this council not to respond to any questions or comments that may be made about this matter.
Mr. Platt, I will have questions for you later, and you will have enough time to answer them. But at this time, we have a lady that's the CFO of this township. She is the leader of this township. She governs from the highest office of this township. The community would like to ask some questions to council and mayor, and we are not in a court of law. This is public knowledge. You brought it out to the public, and these are simple questions. So, Mr. Perry, I'm going to ask you again. When was the first time you found out about the issue of Bob Smith?
I'm not going to answer the question.
I've already advised them, so continuing on this path, sir, is not going to get you anywhere. We're not going to answer any questions relating to this or any other litigation matter.
Now, obviously, Mr. Perry, do you know, I know that Ms. Pasqualone stated that she found out the same night at the executive meeting. Have you found that out at the same time? Do you know when the other 3 members of council found out?
Again, it's the same instruction, sir.
Okay.
I understand you don't want to listen
Well-
to me. I know you don't want to hear what I'm saying, and you can continue on, but they're not
I
going
will.
to answer
I will.
any such questions on
Ms.
this
Mayor.
particular topic.
Can you tell me can you tell the community, when was the first time that you found out about Bob Smith's issue?
They're not going to be answering your questions, sir.
Mayor, did you try to contact Bob Smith before this went to public and try to resolve it in a private matter?
Point of order for this discussion to end?
You will, but you
Okay,
certainly
I'm calling
can.
for a point of order. This discussion has to end. It's going to open up into litigation, so.
Ms.
Mr.
Mayor,
President, there's a point of order on the table. It's in regards to this discussion because of legal issues and the jeopardy that it would pass the legal investigation and inquiry, and I believe that's what the point of order is. And Mr. Giancarlo, all due respect to you, you have to understand.
you're stopping me from asking questions,
I didn't say I
sir?
was stopping you, sir. I'm just saying I don't have that authority to stop you to begin with. I'm just telling you you're putting this investigation and inquiry into jeopardy, and
I'm
you may,
putting in
and you,
jeopardy?
let me finish, and you may wind up costing more money to the township that's already went out.
I'm putting in jeopardy.
You
I'm-
could if these
Sir,
people answer those questions,
Sir, I am trying to save the township taxes.
not by asking the questions and getting the councilman to
Yes, I
answer
am.
these questions.
Yes, I am, sir.
Well, then we agree
Yes,
to
I am.
disagree.
There's been a
Yes,
point
I
of
am.
order. Is there a ruling from the chair that not to entertain any further questions or comments on this subject upon your advice of
Well,
counsel?
Mr. Platt,
I make that ruling.
Okay, so sir, you can't continue on. If you continue on with the same line of questioning,
Platt.
you're going to be declared out of order and asked to
Mr.
to
Platt,
sit down.
since you are the voice of the administration, you declared that yourself. Would you like would you like me to ask you questions?
We're not discussing this topic. I don't know how many ways to say it, sir.
Mr. Platt,
I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be
You're not fair,
professional.
sir.
We're
You're
not
not
going to
fair.
be
These are
discussing
simple
it.
questions.
That includes me.
Council President.
These are simple questions.
Mr. DeRazio, your 5 minutes are up, please. Let somebody else come up.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Chet Nowacki, Heritage Valley, Washington Township. One question that I have for Mr. Platt. At the last meeting, the subject about talking about Mr. Smith seemed to be an open subject. As a matter of fact, you brought up his name, and you brought up the exact dates and times that he was in the building, the exact times that he issued direct deposits to himself. You brought up a number of facts about Bob Smith, and it was all in part of public forum. May I ask, before you made any of those comments, did you take the opportunity to rice Mr. Smith so that he might be here to defend himself?
I will tell you this, and I will answer to this extent. The Rice notice rules do not apply in this context, in this situation whatsoever. He's no longer an employee, and it's not a disciplinary action, nor is it an adverse job or positive job consequence. So the Rice case that you're referring to, where employees get notice of the matters being discussed about them, absolutely 1,000,000% does not apply in this situation.
Well, if it didn't apply in this situation, and you brought up a number of facts about him and his actions, then why can't we discuss it tonight? You say litigation, but you already brought everything out in the open last time, so why can't we just expound on that?
Because I gave a report, and once the governing body authorized me to take legal action, it is now a legal action matter, and that's why you can no longer, we're no longer going to discuss it, and we have a point of order and a ruling from the chair that this matter will not be discussed either at this meeting or going forward until the matter is resolved.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going to turn this around because we're supposed to be addressing the body. Hey, union guys, I could have used your help with that. So, I think before I begin my 5 minutes, Brian McBride from Washington Township, I think everybody in the room, regardless of your politics, should give Mr. Perry a round of applause for running the meeting in a very civil way. We haven't had that in quite some time. So I personally think, I may not agree with all of your politics, Mr. Perry, but I think you did a good job tonight. Thank you. So I'm here to talk about the petition. We've made a lot of noise about the petition. We had the news show up on Friday. So the residents have shown that we take fiduciary responsibility very seriously, and our committee is grateful to the mayor for what you've done with the budget. The salary ordinance is still a thick issue, and I'm sure that our union brothers in the back would love a raise on average of 7 to 13% from what they got the year before. And I'm also sure that they would support their fellow members in the policemen's union with the police station, which in the last month I've spent a lot of time there, and I can certainly tell you it's crumbling, and Chief Gersick and his men need a new police station. So the money that's being spent on the salary should be going to that police station. I mean, that police station's terrible. So oddly, from the time we started the petition to now, the number of signatures of registered voters from the clerk of Gloucester County went from 34,000, which is what they told us, to 36,000, which is what they told Mr. Selb. So I think Al Gore might call that fuzzy math. But for the petition, Mr. Vice President, the committee is here with us tonight, and we differ with the township on a number of points. And I'd like to bring them up to you on the advice of the local council that we've consulted. Some of the attorneys you would know. The 20-day clock begins when the mayor signs the ordinance under the Faulkner Act. Unfortunately, the township made a small violation in the Faulkner Act by publishing the ordinance before Mayor Gattinelli signed it. That means the deadline for the petitions would have started on March 3rd, ending March 23rd, not last Friday. The statute also requires service upon the governing body, which tonight, due to a very unfortunate circumstance, is you, Mr. Perry. So therefore, and pursuant to the statute, NJSA 40A:9-165, the committee, on behalf of the signatories, will resubmit those signatures to you as the head of the governing body, because submitting to the clerk is not the head of the governing body. I understand for political reasons or your own personal reasons, you may not agree with the petition, and that's okay. But by law, you still have to accept the service. I want to talk about the New Jersey Electronic Transactions Act. You don't have to answer any questions, and I'm not going to ask you any. The petitions are not a prohibited category under the New Jersey Electronic Transactions Act. Indeed, the clerk of the Township of Washington, in official township correspondence, uses an electronic signature himself on official documents. Moreover, the chief executive officer of DocuSign has been advised that the township has neither approved or denied the use of electronic signatures for this petition. I understand from DocuSign that the full legal team at DocuSign Inc. has mobilized behind the committee. In fact, the lead attorney on a letter sent to the Township of Washington this evening was written in lead by the attorney who wrote the Federal Electronic Signature Act. DocuSign is a $3 billion company, and they are watching this case very carefully. Now, as far as the solicitors are concerned, Mr. Platt, I believe since you're a beneficiary under this ordinance that you are ethically conflicted from participating in the petition or the ordinance in any way whatsoever.
Can I interrupt you?
Well, no, wait a minute. No, please let me have my 5 minutes. And then
I'm going to suspect you. I want to talk about that issue up front with you because I think it's an important issue, and we will not use my time against your time. Is that okay with you?
Fair enough.
Would you yield the floor to me, please?
I will yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Dr. McBride. I have received a request from Dr. McBride that he believes that because I may benefit from an increase in the ranges that are in the salary ordinance, that I have a conflict of interest. And these are my words, not your words, sir.
Those are my words, yes, sir.
And he's asked me to recuse myself. I imagine he would think that I would not be fair and I would not be impartial in providing legal advice to the clerk, who is ultimately going to make the decision on both the electronic as well as any other signatures. I believe that that's the basis of why you believe there's a conflict. So as a result of that, I want everybody to understand this, that despite the fact that the salary ordinance has a range that increases the head of the Department of Law to $110,000, I have long ago told the mayor that I will only be accepting the salary that was paid to the prior solicitors in my seat, going back several years, of $100,000. So in actuality, I do not have a conflict of interest because I will not be getting an increase, so I will not benefit one way or the other. However, and not because it was particularly requested, but in an abundance of caution, and I use that term again, in an abundance of caution, and because this is of interest and it's an important public issue, I am going to recuse myself, not because I have a conflict of interest, but because I believe this process is very important to the voters, at least some voters in this community. And it's most important that the voters believe, and the residents, that the other 95% that were not involved in the process, believe that the process will be fair and impartial. And if there is any sort of a taint on that process because of even the appearance, despite the information that I'm giving the public tonight, that would not be an appropriate thing to do. So as a result of what I believe to be the appropriate thing for the public, I am going to recuse myself from giving any legal advices on this particular issue. I can tell the public as well that I have never made, despite what you may have read, I have never made a determination, nor have I ever given a legal opinion with respect to electronic signatures to the clerk or anybody else. So we'll address it that way. So, as a result of my recusal on this issue, I am going to refer this matter to the duly appointed conflict solicitor that was appointed at reorganization unanimously by this governing body, by the Township Council, Capehart and Scatcherd, who will then be reviewing this matter and all information with the clerk, who will ultimately make a determination on the validity and legitimacy of the petition and its application under the statute. And by the way, the the issue of a conflict of interest is always in the first instance up to the attorney. We, as attorneys licensed to practice law in the state of New Jersey, are given the opportunity to make that determination on our own. And I've made this determination, again, not because of a conflict, but I want the residents to rely upon and have confidence in the process, despite what anybody may say. So with that, and in light of the fact that there has been a threat of legal action, not only
We
in
did not
emails,
threaten that. I'll make that very clear.
not only in emails, and again, reserving your time, not only in emails from Dr. McBride, but from others, I am instructing again the clerk and members of this council to not respond to any questions or comments concerning this issue until such time as this matter is ultimately resolved, because there has been a threat of litigation.
Okay.
And so, as a result of that, and the clerk could speak for himself, and again, I didn't threaten litigation. It was the threat came from Dr. McBride himself. Mr. Selb can certainly answer for himself, but he's in the process of reviewing the petition and will confer with conflict counsel and will make the proper decision. So that's where we are on this petition and the validity of these signatures at this point. So I'm recused. At this point, you have my advices on this issue, and good luck with the task.
Mr. Vice President, thank you, Mr. Platt.
Thank you
Mr. Vice President.
thank you for giving me the time to speak, Dr. McBride.
Mr.
I am
McBride,
not going-
I just want to, yeah, 1 minute.
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, I'm not going to ask any questions, but just for a point of memorandum, Capehart and Scathard, the conflict solicitor, employs Mrs. Prudence Higbee as an attorney. Mrs. Higbee was the treasurer for Mrs. Gattinelli's mayoral campaign. Her sister is former council president Michelle Martin. So I believe that the conflict solicitor is also conflicted, and I have made a report to the Superior Court of New Jersey on behalf of the committee that both firms should recuse themselves and you should find a new conflict solicitor. So I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm not going to ask the committee any questions. I don't want to Lord knows I'm already in disfavor with the council already. So on that basis, Mr. Vice President, as a member of the committee, I'm going to finish my 5 minutes. Our committee would like to formally present you and serve you with petitions tonight. May we approach?
Yes.
The committee has asked that our first signatory to the petition, my father, an honorably discharged naval veteran, Frank McBride, will join us in the presentation. And just for the record, for everybody at home, I wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for this man. Mr. Vice President, I know you may not agree with our politics, but it is our duty to serve you formally as the governing body, the petition. I wish the business administrator was here to lift that for me. My arm's kind of small. But thank you for accepting it. Mr. Vice President, I'm going to cede the floor to the co-chair of the committee, Mrs. Mary Beam.
Hi, good evening. It's Mary Bem, and I live at 578 Dew Court. And
Mike's off.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Mary Bem, 578 Dew Court. And to follow up, I might come back up and talk again, but I want to first thank Brian McBride for all his hard work and all the people of this town, because it really goes out to everybody who signed and everybody who was diligent. It really wasn't us. There were so many people involved in doing this via Facebook and emails. I just goes out to everybody and standing up for what we believe in. So for that, I thank everybody out here, because you were the ones who did it. And people that are here for other reasons, they all signed. It's amazing how many people came out and did this. So thank you, everybody in the town. Appreciate it.
Council, those of us gathered here, I am Rose Wakeman. I have been a resident of Washington Township for 50 years. I have a question. I read in the paper that, this is in regards to Dr. McBride, that a councilwoman is suing or threatening to sue Dr. McBride. I find this incredible. This man is a constituent. He pays taxes. He is paying your salary. It boggles my mind that anybody would think to do that. However, the real question is, should Mr. McBride countersue? Is the council and Washington Township liable for any payments?
Do you want?
We'll address any of your comments after public portion, ma'am. I have your questions written down.
Okay. I also have a second one. The councilwoman is also a teacher in the township. Suppose one of my grandchildren said something that she found not kind. Would she then, in turn, sue us for expressing an opinion on Facebook? This is horrific, in my opinion. I will.
Ma'am, you're entitled to your opinion. I will tell you this, that the lawsuit that I'm aware of that Dr. McBride forwarded to me is a private civil action having nothing to do with Washington Township government, and therefore your concerns as to filing counterclaims and all of that has nothing to do with anybody up here on council in terms of their official position as a council person, mayor, township solicitor, township clerk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure it would be inappropriate for the councilwoman to respond to you because she's involved in a litigation. So while you can stand up here and suggest all of these horrific things, she really can't defend herself. So I think it's a little unfair. I think it's a little unfair, in my opinion, to go delve into a matter that's in litigation when she really can't discuss it. I'm not her attorney, but I'm sure her attorneys advised her not to discuss this matter publicly at this point.
And just to address anyone that's going to come up to discuss my private litigation upon the advice of my private and personal counsel, that it's a personal matter, has nothing to do with me as Washington Township Council, nor does it have anything to do with me being an educator in the town. It is a personal lawsuit that is under litigation. I will not make any public comment on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Wakeman. That was my wife. I have other questions other than what she was concerned with. First off, I would like to compliment the council for the resolution they passed tonight. I wanted to get up and applaud when you waived taxes for the disabled veteran, so I'd like us all to applaud you for that. Mr. Platt, you've said you're not going to answer any questions, but I was wondering exactly...
But I'm sure you're going to ask some, so go ahead.
Well, now, this one I think you may be able to answer without...
Sure.
Exactly when did you recuse yourself? Was that tonight?
I'm recusing myself this evening, yes.
So there was some time spent prior to this where you were not recused?
That is correct.
Okay. I don't think you'll answer this one. Did you do anything in reference to the petition during that time preceding tonight?
I will answer. No, I've not done anything with it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good evening, council. We need to spend some money on a better PA system, folks. This one's 45 years old. We definitely need to spend the money. Ralph Campana, 2 Pear Tree Place, Washington Township. My question is this simply. Solicitor Platt, you recused yourself this evening. Did you know that you were going to recuse yourself You had 2 weeks to think about what was in the process. My question is, if you knew you were going to recuse yourself this evening, why aren't the other representatives that you're going to pass it off to, why aren't they here this evening to discuss it with us?
Because I've just decided it today. I formed my opinion today,
Okay.
and I announced it publicly this evening.
I understand that's a tactic. Okay. Am I allowed to speak to the mayor, or am I allowed to speak to the mayor? Because she just spoke up here regarding some budget issues, and I just wanted to ask a quick question or two, if I may. Am I allowed to do that, or do I have to talk to you? Who do I talk to? Am I allowed to speak to the mayor since she brought it
You
up?
can talk, you can talk through the chair.
I'll talk to the chair then. The budget that you said was balanced and our taxes may go down, we're using surplus. You didn't say how much surplus. How much surplus are we using to balance the budget this year like we did last year?
Right, so as I had stated, you're going to have the opportunity for the public open budget hearings, so there's going to be dates for that. Any questions that you have, you can certainly write them out and ask. I don't have all the figures in front of me. This was discussed, so...
And how do you know it's going to be balanced if you don't know the numbers?
No, this is preliminary. This is
Okay.
giving us an idea as to what we're looking at. As I had stated, public open budget meetings will be April 4th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Thursday, April 6th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So
And
if you
that's
have any
going to be
questions, you can
small
certainly-
groups, you said? It's not going to be in an open forum?
There's two different things. There are
Okay.
two large
This is-
open forums.
Right.
Then there's
Which is-
small budget workshops, and then, of course, you have the grand finale, the introduction, and then final adoption,
That
which is
counts.
at a public meeting.
Okay, and before the adoption that would be here, we would get the speaker? Do they do the adoption and then we speak after and we
Could speak at all of them.
got them? Okay, all right, that's that. And the last question is, you said that the businesses in our town were going to do things a little bit different. What exactly are you going to do that the other administration couldn't do and the other council members couldn't do to try to bring business into Washington Township? Give me one thing you're going to do that's going to bring businesses in. Well, just one thing is all I want is
Yeah,
one.
absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. As a former business owner in Washington Township, I knew it was a little difficult coming into the town to open up a business. This was over 12 years ago. So myself, I had a little bit of insight in reference to that. I've been working diligently with the construction, zoning, and planning board so that we can work on some issues in the back office to make sure that it's a smooth transition. So when someone comes in to open up a business, we're going to have a process in place so that they can go by the guidelines. Everything will be checked off as they go along. There'll be a timeline for them for when they open up the business, and so forth and so on. So I felt that we need to fix internally in order to be able to work with the public coming in and offering up services that they want to bring into the town. And then on the other end of that, we're working with economic development. We're working very diligently with them, and we are working with developers coming into the town.
Maybe you didn't understand my question. If I can rephrase it, what exactly one thing are you going to do to attract some businesses into the empty businesses in Washington Township? You're going to streamline them getting in the businesses. What are you going to do to attract them to just look at our town and say, hey, maybe maybe we'll come here and open up a business.
Well,
What are you going to do specifically? One thing.
What we're doing is we're trying to promote ourselves out there. There's a lot of different areas that we can put product together so that we can show developers that we're going to be friendly and trying to bring them in. We're now working on demographics. We're working on areas. We're trying to get in touch with the shopping center owners to see what has been coming through and why they're not bringing their business into town. I felt more on the other end, we had to work from the inside out as far as attracting those folks. People coming in, there are people coming in here all the time that are going in for application, but they're not going to fruition. I have to find out why they're not. So I'm working internally from the outside. I understand what you're asking, but there's a whole gamut that we have to look at. It's not just one area. If we bring them in and we attract them, we have to be able to turn around and be able to help them to get into their building or whatever business that they're trying to bring in.
Fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Is it working fine?
Yes.
I personally went from door to door with regard to the petition, knocking on doors and asking people to sign up and explaining the lead sheet and the salaries and so forth that were posted in the ordinance. Most of the people just became unglued. They were very much concerned about their property taxes, and property taxes is the number one issue with the voters in this township. Now, the mayor this evening gave us some warm words, but one of the people that I spoke to made a comment to me, and he said, you know, this looks exactly like where I work. And I'm curious as to who were the people on the council or in the township that generated the ideas for this particular ordinance. And the reason why I asked that, the fella that I was talking to said, this is what they did where I work. And these are out of line. I said, where do you work? He said, the Delaware River Port Authority. Do we have anybody up here from the Delaware River Port Authority?
Yeah, I work there.
Was that your idea,
What's that?
this ordinance?
The ordinance is done by law. Every township does this.
No. The
It's setting a
structure
range.
of the
Okay.
ordinance, sir, that's what I'm talking about.
Do I feel as though the ranges are reasonable? Yes. And I've
We
already
don't.
said that.
We don't. Thank
Fair
you.
enough. And I think you've
That's
put a
why you
narrative
have
out there
the
that
ordinance.
taxes are going up, and you didn't know that. And you said, the Republican Party specifically said $500. They're going to go up $500 if you don't come out. And that was
I
a
didn't
lie.
say
You
that.
did lie to some people.
I didn't say
And
anything about...
that's not good. That's not good for a number of reasons. I have emails from the GOP. Let me just say, misdirection is a problem. And
Yes,
we need,
it is.
and you guys misdirecting people leads this community in the wrong direction.
Why are you
That's all.
changing the subject away
Not.
from what I asked?
You asked if I had
You're
something. I
doing
said
it
yes.
again. Thank you.
Excuse me. Miss Ben, would you let the other gentleman go? Let the other gentleman go, he's in
No,
line.
he didn't mind. He
No,
asked-
we're not going to have people come 2-3 times tonight. There's a lot of people here that want to speak, so please let him come up.
How are you? Reverend Joel Sophia. I moved to Washington Township in 2009. I don't have too many questions.
Sir, could you state your address?
Yeah, 357 Chapel Heights Road.
Thank you.
So, I just want to say I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, and I could care less who you are. If you're honest and you have integrity, I'll back you. I've worked with Barbara Wallace on a lot of issues, Bob Smith. I don't know what's going on with that lawsuit, but in my mind, that guy had a big heart. He would have given his shirt off his back for anybody, and I witnessed it many, many times. Mr. Platt, you had me going for a while. I was in your corner while you were talking until you were deceitful to Brian and used your time, which you took from him, to shut down this committee so they couldn't speak or answer questions. That was dishonest. So I'm just, and then
I'm going to interrupt you because I have, I'm going to interrupt. It's okay. That's fine. We'll reserve his 5 minutes. Councilman Perry, I'd like to respond to that. Your reference, or your accusation that I'm deceitful or dishonest is plainly wrong, okay? It's plainly wrong. You're entitled to your opinion, sir. You're entitled to your opinion no matter how wrong you are, and that's what this is up here, but I disagree with that.
Really?
And
I'm not the one who just changed my mind tonight and said you came up with your decision to cut your salary and everything else.
Excuse me. If you talk about integrity, you might have said, well, that was a level of integrity shown by Mr. Pratt for recusing himself, even though he doesn't have a conflict of interest.
I did think that.
Well, why don't you say that?
Well, because you shot yourself in the foot.
Well, I didn't shoot myself in the
I said
foot
I
at
was in
all.
your corner the whole time. I didn't ask you to debate with me.
The reason why, but you need to understand, I'm not going to let you have something hang out over there and hold me up to ridicule. That's not who I am. I'm not going to allow you to do that, sir.
By shutting down
So I didn't shut him down. He had plenty of time to talk. And he allowed me to talk, and I asked him, he allowed me to talk. The reality is that Dr. McBride threatened a lawsuit. Not me, not anybody else. He has no one to blame but himself. By threatening the lawsuit, it took the discussion of the petition matter out of the public domain, sir. So that's not deceitful. No, well, that's not deceitful. That's not dishonest. That's my well-reasoned, well-thought-out, and appropriate opinion.
Well, I call it inappropriate. And in addressing lawsuits, I'm just going to say these lawsuits are a public issue. This is a public figure. My daughter went to Bell's school. All right? This is a huge issue to me. You represent this township, and you represent us. You've been in 2 months. I have lived in the spotlight 37 years.
I'm sorry, are you addressing me?
Yes, I am.
I've been
Angela Donato.
I've been on council for 2 years.
I want to stop this. I want to
Excuse me,
stop
sir,
this.
I sped read that
Oh,
lawsuit.
excuse me, sir. I want to stop this
You
right
got
now.
two options. You
Public
can grow up
comment,
or get out.
sir.
It's that simple.
Sir.
It's very childish. I read
Sir,
through that entire
public
lawsuit. Grow up or
Personal
get out.
personal attacks are inappropriate, sir.
Pastor,
My lawsuit
please.
is a personal matter.
Well, then step out of the spotlight.
If this
you
has
can't handle it.
nothing
It's
to
not a
do with me as
personal
a
matter.
yes, it is.
No, it's not.
And if you've read my lawsuit, which apparently I guess the whole right side of you have, which is great, has nothing to do with the petition, has nothing to do with Washington Township. It has to do with personal attacks, sir. And I do not appreciate my job as an educator being brought up. And I've also been on council for 2 years that I was voted in on this position for.
Sorry.
Okay? And I have not done anything to disrespect the voters or the constituents or the taxpayers of this town, as I am one as well. And I would appreciate the respect that I've given the last 2 years for me to handle my personal business that I have with someone who has been personally attacking me, because I don't think if anyone else's 28-year-old daughter, sister, mother, niece would appreciate the personal attacks that I've been having and that have been detrimental on my life for the last 2 months that I've been on council for this 2017 year. So I appreciate, I'm sorry?
If you call them attacks, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be on the council.
It has nothing to do with me as a councilwoman, sir, for the final time. It is personal.
It has everything to do with
It does
you being
not.
on and the petition, yes, it does.
Listen, right now, I'm gonna call for a point of order. I don't want my legal things to be discussed, because I'm not gonna deal with this.
So,
I'm calling for a point of order. It is inappropriate and it is unprofessional that they keep bringing up a personal matter that has nothing to do with the taxpayers in this town.
and my advice to the chair, again, for the 14th time, not your fault, that we cannot address these issues, we can't answer these questions, we cannot respond to comments, and anybody that continues on this pattern, in my opinion, to the chair, would be out of order and would be appropriate that they be warned and then be told to sit down if they continue on this pattern. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Okay, just for one of our resolutions in here, I'm going to quote it, is individuals offering citizen comment are not permitted to make personal attacks on any township employee, the mayor, council members, or other testifiers or member of the public. So if you can't come up here and make your comments without taking shots at people, please don't come up.
Well noted. Daniel Coughlin, 51-year resident of Washington Township. So I was disheartened by the
Could
fact...
you state your address, sir? I'm sorry.
I was disheartened by the fact that this council voted to approve the salary ordinance, but not only for the reasons that council member... Sorry, can you hear me? Not only for the reasons that Councilwoman Pascalone articulated, but also because it didn't sound like you were listening to the public. A lot of sometimes your arguments are valid too. I get it, that we have to offer competitive salaries, that this isn't the time that we were necessarily getting into the weeds about salaries, that we were doing something by law anyway. I understand those arguments, but at the same time, when the people speak, if you just acknowledge that you're listening, if it's not such a big deal, you could have easily just shaved off the maximums. And you would have said to the people, we hear you. Because it's not only what issues you think are important, it's also the issues that the town thinks are important. I think it's great that we have an initiative and a petition. I mean, that's democracy working. But at the same time, it could be kind of a black eye for you folks, you know? And I just would like, because lawsuits and litigation, that is a big issue for this town. And I'm not getting into any, individual ones. But if we can avoid that, if there's a way that we can avoid that, let's take that route anytime. Because ultimately it's going to cost our town money. So I have a few questions. I hope you don't read between the lines, because you might get to those answers. First of all, can you clarify for me this town's policy when an employee terminates employment and they have existing vacation time or sick time on the books? What happens with that? Anyone?
It really depends, sir. You'd have to give me a specific set of facts and circumstances. There are there are contractual, there are collective bargaining agreements that govern that issue, and there's also for non-contracted for employees, there is a employee handbook, if you will. If you're in the private sector, you'll know what I'm talking about. And there are also some employees in the past who have had employment contracts. So those types of issues come from collective bargaining agreements for union employees. They come from specific employment agreements, and they also come from the civilian rules and regulations, typically known as an employee handbook.
Okay, so I'm talking about appointed positions. Appointed positions that still have time left on the books when their employment ends. Do you buy them out? Do you offer, money compensation for those existing sick days, vacation days, personal days, et cetera?
I'd have to take a look at the regulation and get back to you in particular, but generally the notion of severance in the public sector is not, generally speaking, the rule, and buyouts of vacation time. So it really depends upon the employee handbook, and I want to give you the most accurate answer, and be happy to, if you want to give me your number or your email address after the meeting, I'll be happy to respond to you in kind.
Okay, but you admit it's not unheard of that is the practice that's often done.
I'm not admitting anything, sir. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to answer your question. If you have a specific question or a specific set of facts.
We might as well shut the lights off and go home. I mean, okay.
Do you want a fast answer or do you want a correct answer?
No, I don't want a fast answer. I just thought you had a general feel of that.
And I thought I gave you that, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. How many registered voters are in Washington Township? Can anyone answer that?
That would be apparently there's apparently a difference of opinion, but I think we have some information we might have received. Leo, do you have any information on that?
Yes, I do. The number, I spoke to the individual that Dr. McBride spoke to. He provided me with a number. I also spoke with another individual on the County Board of Elections. I advised Dr. McBride I would try to figure out why the disparity of over 2,000 registered voters was there. Okay? I did find why that disparity occurred, which has nothing to do with me, which has more to do with the Board of Elections. The disparity has to do with what they call inactive voters who are registered to vote. And they claim that makes that extra 2,000 people registered voters, and the 5% number has to be taken of that group. That'll be given to me in writing. And as I explained to Dr. McBride, all these things will be down in writing, so we have it, because he got a verbal number, I got a verbal number.
Not a verbal number.
Oh, I know they sent him something, and they sent him a whole bunch of rolls of voters, because he did submit that. I understand that. But I'm telling you, the number that was given to me was verbal, and I told Dr. McBride that. I also told him that I would explore the difference, and I spoke to the lady that he spoke to, and she got back to me and told me that the difference was because of inactive voters who are truly registered to vote. And so that number had to be included.
So
And
your answer is you don't know?
No, I know the number, sir.
what is the number?
I don't have the number exactly in front of me, sir. And I wouldn't want to say the number because I wouldn't want to jeopardize anything for the voters and the taxpayers.
Okay.
And the matter.
Let me just say this, okay? In an effort at fairness and transparency, and I know these matters are governed by existing law. I know that. But if somebody is given a written number, okay, and that's the target that they're shooting for, and that's what they're working at, then it's only fair that that is the number that should be taken into account.
Sounds like a good legal argument, sir.
No, wait. Now, if that number is not correct, then once again, in the efforts of fairness and transparency, then they should get a continuation on that deadline. They should get an extension to meet that. That's my thoughts on that. Okay? Because we have to look like we're fair. You don't want to look like you're trying to shut that down. You want to look like you are, again, responsive and listening to the public. Okay. Now, I just had another question about is Kennedy, and I'm changing the subject here, is Kennedy Memorial Hospital going to pay taxes this year?
Do you know, we'll refer that, do you know, Sean?
They pay a pilot.
They pay a pilot payment, okay.
So that is in effect as of now.
Yeah, I believe it's a 2 or 3 year agreement that was instated last year.
Okay. I mean, I just want to make some general comments, and maybe I'll come back if there's other people waiting. That's a good policy, that whole economic development plan of meds and eds. But just remember, we don't want to chase businesses away either. If we have other towns that they don't have to pay property taxes, right? I mean, they have to pay the bottom line. And I think it's a great idea that we are having those discussions and they are paying taxes. But that has to be, like a surgical look at taxes, But it's a win-win for the town, and it's something you can celebrate and let people know. And Mayor, I just want to say that I certainly appreciate your remarks and your efforts to keep property taxes down. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Is that on?
Light should be green.
Frank Cianci, Twin Ponds, Sewell. Just a thought here. A little while ago, before you closed the meeting, the council members had an opportunity to give a report on their committees, and I believe only one person gave a report. And the other day, I watched. I listened here tonight. I believe the salary ordinance, the total, if everyone got a raise, amounted to about $46,000, and that's a big if everyone went to the maximum. And if everyone got that raise, unlike what people said, your taxes are going up $500, it might attribute to maybe $1 to $1.50 a house in Washington Township. But I don't think that's going to happen. But what disturbs me more is I see these people coming up and making this issue, and they're right. But these same people that I see in the audience and on council, I listened to a podcast, I watched it, of the school board budget. And the school board budget is $146 or $149 million. They voted to raise it to the cap, 2%. It's $1.6 million it's going to come to. And not one of them people got up and said, my taxes are going up. But the gentleman before me stated that a council person up here was very articulate on how she talked about the salary ordinance. I commend you on that. But yet that same person walks in the East Holly Avenue and seems to lose all her articulating capabilities because she said nothing about her raising the taxes $1.6 million. It's not a personal tax because she's the liaison to the school board, and
Yes.
she made no report to the taxpayers here that they voted to raise it to the cap. They voted on that in the work session. Okay. And I have no report here. And I find it very disturbing that you will sit up here and fight tooth and nail about something that may or may not happen, $46,000, vote no against going after $18,000 of taxpayer money, and then keeping quiet about a $1.6 million increase in a budget.
So this is a personal attack, but I'll answer
It's
it anyway.
not a personal attack. You're the liaison. It's not. I want to know why you didn't report it back. That's all.
Sir, you have to let her respond.
Okay.
I'm the liaison to the board, yes, but I do not make the decisions on the board, and everybody on the board did vote yes for that budget. And also, with that being in mind, they were working to solve a few issues internally to make sure that they don't have those budget issues when they go to adopt the budget. So that's why.
But why didn't you report that tonight, saying, "Hey, I'm the liaison"?
Because they already addressed it internally. There was nothing for me to say when they were already talking about that. All of the board members.
There, but the taxpayers here did not know that. I bet you half the people in the room didn't know that.
The board member, and it's a public meeting.
Yeah, but don't you feel as liaison it's your responsibility to report back $1.6 million? That's all I have to say.
It's not definitive, and they're working those issues out.
Say what you want. and
Sir,
say
sir,
stuff
sir,
about that
hold on
to
a
me.
second. Please, why don't we just do this? At least agree not to talk over each other.
Very good.
And please address your comments to the governing body.
Apologize. I'll
Thank you.
address it to the chair. The other question I have, and I don't know if I can, it's for the solicitor, is they brought up a figure last meeting about $17,000, $18,000 that was given, shouldn't have been given, whatever. Is there any, are we going to get that back, or is that under litigation, or will it be under litigation?
Under the same rule from before, that matters under, a demand has been made that matters under litigation.
Very good.
Or in anticipation thereof.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name's David Wilson, 19 Goodwin Parkway. Last meeting, I made a suggestion about a hiring procedure, and I believe several members of the council agreed that something that could be evaluated. And I was just wondering, are we tracking that? Are we carrying that?
Nick and I are working on that, and we're going to continue. It's not that easy because there's a number of different departments,
Yes.
and there's obviously appointed positions, and
Right.
so we got to get together. We got to draw up exactly how we're going to do it. I'm optimistic we can get it done sometime,
Okay.
probably second, third quarter.
Is there some way that's carried in the minutes so that doesn't get lost?
I mean, I don't know if we can carry it in the minutes because it's kind of we're working offline to get an actual document to bring into the minutes. So until that happens, we'll continue to work on it.
Okay. So that's not old business.
It's old business. I mean, I'd say.
Well, can it be carried as
We
old
can
business?
carry it as old business. Sure, we can bring it up.
Okay, good, thank you. The mayor addressed the fact that vehicle utilization was one item being looked at for the budget concern. Does that include police car utilization? Because I believe I'm correct, but does every police officer have a dedicated car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's one of the concerns or questions I have, because if you calculate that out, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, that's 8,760 hours in a year. And if a typical police officer works 2,000 hours, 50 weeks, times 40, that's 2,000 hours he works. That makes that police car utilization less than 23% of the time. In other words, 76% of the time, that police car is sitting in somebody's driveway. And I just cannot believe that that's an efficient utilization of taxpayer dollars. So is that one of the things that's being looked at on the vehicle utilization? That's specifically?
I'm sorry, I appreciate the question. We'll have to look into that for you. I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay.
Mr. Perry, may I give an opinion on that topic? Just, I am a police officer, so we run cars all the time.
Yes.
And I think that for a department like this, the Lexington plan is more effective because generally speaking, officers take better care of their cars and they tend to last longer, so we're not replacing cars necessarily as much as departments who run cars all the time.
Right.
That's my just experience with that issue.
Yes, I think the chief told me last week about cars being taken better care of, but I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean the oil gets checked?
Means we get more like 10 to 15 years out of a car as opposed to 3 or 4 years out of a car.
Because there's more miles put on fewer cars.
And they last longer. They're not getting the heavy work. Exactly that.
Okay, and that's been calculated out. Somebody did a monetary study.
It's almost done, I promise.
I'm sorry?
I am preparing a study about vehicle usage and this plan. He's talking up with the Lexington plan. And it's almost complete. I'll bring it possibly to the next council meeting.
Thank you, thank you. And the last item I had, when I drive through the township, I'm always amazed how many people are using cell phones while they're driving. And at the next meeting, could we have a number, how many arrests have been made in the township over the last 6 months on cell phone utilization?
So for the first 3 weeks in April, we're going to...
Chief, do you want to get on the mic?
For the first 3 weeks in April, we're going to be running a cell phone enforcement operation.
Okay.
We've received federal grant money.
His voice
And also be assigned out to patrol for specific cell phone violations. So maybe in 2 council meetings, I could come back to the council with a report on how many violations were issued.
Okay, great.
And if I can speak on that, I was a part of it two years ago. We did that. Was it 2 years ago we did it?
You did ride along.
I did a ride along 2 years ago for it, since I advocate for distracted driving, and it was quite entertaining to really see secondhand, because you see it when you're driving, but be able to witness it and then watch people get pulled over and then not even realize how careless and how reckless it is. And
Right.
after losing someone from someone using their cell phone, it's very important that the town is aware of it. And we're coming up. April is National Distracted Driving Awareness Month, so we will be doing a lot for that within the town for the month of April. So thank you for bringing that up.
Have we been enforcing it, though?
Most definitely.
Okay, so there is data from the previous 6 months that would illustrate, other than a 3-week period in April, how much we've been enforcing it.
Yeah, so I get a monthly report every month on how many summonses were issued, how many warnings were issued, and then there's also a breakdown. How many speeding tickets were issued, how many cell phone, seatbelt, et cetera.
Okay.
And non-point violations. I think...
Is that available online?
I think we brought in $400,000 in fines last year to our court.
Great, great. Is that available online? That breakdown like that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So at the next council meeting, could we get the report for the previous
Sure,
six
I
months?
can prepare that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Evening, Bob Abbott, Vice President of the Washington Township Board of Education. First thing I'd like to say, and I'm changing the subject from everything else that's been done tonight. At the last meeting, you approved an ordinance awarding us 44% of the pilot receipts for the new
Washington Square
plan.
redevelopment.
Yes, Washington Square. I had to run out because we had a school board meeting. I wanted to personally, and on behalf of the board, thank you all for passing that ordinance. It means a lot, to the residents. It means a lot to the kids, because it's not fair for all the residents in town to be paying for new residents who aren't paying any taxes, or that we wouldn't get any percentage of the pilot. So thank you, that's what I'm here to say. Secondly, Mr. Cianci made comments about the podcast and about the school board work session last night. That was a preliminary budget, which was presented by administration, that we have to forward to the county by law. It's not the end budget. We have a couple meetings. We also have a public hearing in April. 9 members of the board, I voted against the budget, so I was one. But thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for what you've done for us. We appreciate it.
Mary Bem, still at Dew Court. I just wanted to bring up when we were talking about the salary ordinance. So there was an article in the paper just this past week, and I just want to read. It's hard to speak into this thing because it's too tall. Is that better? Oh. All right. So I don't know if anybody else saw this in the paper, but it talks about the salary ordinance. It's all spelt out, which is a little shocking to me. I knew what it was, but I really didn't see it put out like this. So out of the 7 people, there are actually 5 people. And the reason they need to up the ante for the salaries raises or the ranges is because every single person was at the top of the max before they started this position. So if you look, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, public safety, our chief of police, he's already at 150. They want to raise the max to 160. Finance and administration is currently at 106. That's why that was the max. That's why they need to raise it to 120. The same with the solicitor. The max, he was already there, so they need to raise it. And there were 2 others. And the scary part about the whole thing is how can we hire somebody in a position where they're new at the top of the maximum? We're in the private sector. That has never, ever happened where I am. I'm sure that hasn't happened where anybody else is either. That's what everybody's upset about. And when we hear for 2 hours and people came up and talked to you, and that's why the petition's in front of you, because you didn't listen to us. And you said you knew better than anybody in this town did. And you're acting like it's a Republican thing. It wasn't a Republican thing. Whether it's $500 or $2, every tax dollar counts. We pay so much to live here, and what we get for it, sometimes we're wondering. So for that, I think you could have tabled it. You could have put a clause in there that said they have to be in here for a certain period of time, and you didn't do any of that. You didn't listen to the people. None of you, except for Dana, and you can say whatever you want, and we're not all Dana's family, by the way. So you talk about being nasty to other people. You were downright nasty. Don't bang on me, mister. Anyway, so I'm just going to throw that out there. And your little rolling eyes, it's all on tape. But at any rate, the point is you could have tabled it, you could have written a clause in there, but you didn't care. Whether you were the ones that really cared or not, or somebody else told you this is what you're voting for, and you don't have a choice, you didn't use your own brains to do it. Because that's why people are here. That's why everybody's frustrated. So you're not listening to the people of the town. It's a numbers game. If mayor's telling us we're going to lower taxes, I hope that's the case. I hope you don't go to the 2% cap. We know that it can happen. We know that you didn't say you're not. You're saying you're hoping that that's the case. So that's what I wanted to bring up. So anyway, I hope you can listen. I hope you're listening to the people in this town. And if you don't take the petition seriously, people are getting frustrated. People are tired of it. You know, it's not a game. You guys you're appointed by us. You're there to serve the public, not yourselves.
Steve Yankanich, 35 Freedom Road, Washington Township. First, I want to thank Mayor Gattinelli. I'm one of the 11,000 plus that voted for you, and I stand behind your decisions. And I know that there's many other people behind me who also stand behind your decisions. That being said, I would like to thank the rest of the board. It's difficult being up there to hear some of the things that are thrown at you guys. The personal attacks, specifically at Angela Donato, that continue to come at her are absolutely ridiculous. It makes me sick that somebody would be doing that. That being said, I would like to ask the question, if this petition continues and we're using another lawyer, will it cost the township taxpayers money if this petition continues? Is it going to cost more money as a result of this petition continuing?
Conflict counsel is paid an hourly rate.
Okay, so basically this petition is costing us money now, and it could exceed the amount of whatever these adjustments would be, correct? If you allow me to speak, please. Thank you.
I don't know if it will or it won't. It really depends. But because Dr. McBride believes that I had a conflict and I didn't want to taint the process, I felt it to be the responsible thing to do to refer to conflict counsel. So it's not something that I necessarily wanted to do, but I wanted to keep the process as transparent and free from any issues as possible. So yes, it's possible that this matter may be litigated, and it is possible that the fees that the township would have to pay the conflict solicitor could dwarf the potential increases in any salary ordinance. That is
So this petition could essentially cost Washington Township taxpayers more money, in essence.
Listen,
it's possible. It's possible.
Anything's possible. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. Anything's possible.
Okay, I understand. So I would like to ask, excuse me. Thank you. I would like to ask, do the names and addresses of the 5 voters designated as the committee, do they appear on the petition? You have that petition in front of you. Do they appear at all in there? Do we know the names and addresses of the committee members?
The petition I received on the 17th of March from Dr. McBride that was notarized, there was only one name that I saw on that, and it was presented by Dr. McBride. I don't believe there are other committee members on that, but again, I don't have that in front of me, so I don't want to be held to say, yes, there is, or no, there isn't. But I do remember Dr. McBride coming in on Friday as the coordinator, I think that's how he put it,
Okay.
of the group of citizens to present that petition.
So when the registered voters got this paperwork, it's possible that there was no committee names on there as is required by law. There was no committee names on there, and there was no affidavit that was attached to it. Is that correct? I mean, that's possible?
I can't answer to law because, like I said, and was directed, that I have to go to legal counsel to sit down to research this issue. It would not be fair to everyone for me to just offer an opinion.
I
am not a
understand. And
lawyer.
listen, I don't mean to sound like the Mona Lisa veto of petitions here. Pardon my cousin Vinny reference. I'm sure the solicitor would get it. But there is a New Jersey statute that is law, that 4069A-186, that does apply to this. And I would hope that the clerk would look into this and that law that applies, because, basically it seems to me that rules or procedures weren't followed in this petition process. There were emails that I would say that were sent out that were called fear-mongering emails by a Republican Party organization, stating that taxes would go up $500. All these factors that come into play, there seems to be a hidden motive, some type of hidden motive behind the scenes to attack people, to do something along those lines. And for somebody who is sitting on the sidelines looking at this, and you see all this commotion that comes up and all this talk about a petition, we're talking about standard practice in government, am I correct? Standard practice. We look at salary adjustments. So these are it's a standard practice. Am I correct? It's a standard practice.
I'll respond. I respond to the salary ordinance issue, not to the petition. Yes. Every.
So in the words of Iverson, we're talking about practice. We're not talking about a budget here.
Sir, you got to let me finish.
I'm just saying, it's ridiculous.
Sir, you got to let me finish. So the answer to your question is that salary ordinances are required by law to be adopted each year by each municipality, regardless of the form of government. And what was done this year, in terms of having a salary ordinance, has been done in this township and other townships for a long, long time. The question of the nature and the extent of the ranges is, I think, the issue.
But it is standard practice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's required to be done.
I have nothing further to say, but thank you for your time.
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Platt. The cost of counsel fees are noted. The conflict with the conflict solicitor is also noted. I said, Mr. Platt, and I'm addressing the governing body, so I'll address Mr. Vice President Perry appropriately here. The solicitor has recused himself and has offered conflict counsel. Mr. Platt, I'm sure you can agree that the easiest lawsuit to win is the one that's never filed. Is that a fair statement?
I'm recusing myself from any legal discussion concerning the petition.
Fair enough. Guys, fair enough. That's fair. The easiest lawsuit to win is the one that doesn't get filed. You've recused yourself. Our committee, and Mr. Selb, correct me if I'm wrong, but Clerk Hogan stated that if there was an error in the petition, as Mr. Yankanich stated, that we do have the opportunity to correct it. We have our own notary here tonight, and all 5 members of the committee are here tonight and prepared to also add their signatures to that affidavit that was just submitted earlier this evening. So the 5 of you that are here, your names and addresses are all able to be affixed. They're all willing to affix them, and they will affix them. Not necessarily. I signed that affidavit, Mr. Yankanich. You had your 5 minutes. Let me have my 5 minutes. Let me have my 5 minutes, Mr. Chair. Would you please instruct Mr. Yankanich to let me have my 5 minutes?
Please let him talk.
So, in the interest of saving people's tax money, we're willing, as a committee, to sign the affidavit. The affidavits can't be signed until after all the signatures have been collected. And that's what the statute says. Ms. Pasqualone, you are the board liaison to the Washington Township Parks and Recreation. Is that correct? No. Who is? I'm sorry. Who interfaces with Parks and Rec? I don't know that.
You mean for the Sports Advisory Board?
Sports Advisory.
Yes.
Who's in charge of the discussion about the quality of the sports fields from council? Who goes to those?
It would be the board. It would be, Scott Newman, whoever
Who's the
else.
representative from council that goes
Me.
to this? Okay. If that board had $46,000 right now today, what would they use it for? What do you think they'd use it for?
The fields.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, I'd like to ask the chief something. If you had $46,000 a year, what would you use it for your men and women? How would you use $46,000 for your men and women? You were here a couple of weeks ago and
Probably hire another police officer.
I'd support that. How many people would want more police? I'm sure people that are against the petition would agree that more police officers are appropriate. We don't need to go to litigation over this. If you accept the signatures and put the petition to a public vote, if 95% of the people want to come out and vote it down, let them vote it down. Then we don't need a lawsuit. You know what? You have the petition, put it on the ballot, Mr. Vice President. Put it on the ballot. Let it get voted up or down. Living voters, dead voters, they can all come out. And I'm not saying that to be uncivil. I'm just saying, they can all come out and vote on it. And if it's voted down, we lost. Big deal. If it's, why fight it in court? Just put it on the ballot. Put it on the ballot and take the courage to put it on the ballot. We took the courage to go door to door in the cold and get signatures, get yelled at, and we think it should be put on the ballot. Just put it on the ballot. Then there's no legal challenge. Let the voters, all the ones that are applauding against the petition, let them vote it down. Then we take the lumps and we say, okay, we lost, we fought the good fight, they fought the good fight, and they won. Fair enough. Put it on the ballot. We don't need all of this debate and legal fees. If legal fees are incurred because there's a debate on electronic signatures or ink signatures or numbers or all that, then that's a debate that the government's creating. Just put it on the ballot and get it voted up or down. We believe we followed the law. Our lawyers believe we followed the law. And yes, we actually did have lawyers, 3 of them, that looked over everything we did. So we didn't have Mona Lisa Vito playing as our attorney. We actually had people that were admitted to practice in New Jersey, including one that wrote a letter to the township this evening that was discussed in the session, the closed session.
15 seconds.
Because I knew you were getting that letter, because I'm the one that contacted DocuSign. So my 5 minutes are up. I'll cede whatever I have left to the next person.
Hi, good evening. Giancarlo Dorazio, Washington Township. I want to follow up on the fact that if we go into litigations or not regarding the petition. Sorry to bother you.
You didn't bother me.
We're back? Okay. Regarding the petition, I just want to mention that I am one of the ones that signed it. and circulated it. It's not because of the ordinance, just the ordinance on that. The reason why I signed that was I wanted to send a message to the elected officials that
Could you keep it down, please?
that the message is that you are there to do the will of the people. Now you will. The second part, I want to mention that it is a judgment call if you decide to go in litigation or not. It's not what the public asked you for. So if there is any expenses, it will be on the person that makes that judgment call. Because it will be very easy to leave it up there for a vote, just like somebody else said, let the people decide on the vote. One question. The conflict lawyer, who appoints him?
Council did a reorganization, sir. Did you hear me, sir? Over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Over here.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, I have a question for you, sir.
So
Who's
I'm answering. I'm trying to answer.
Sir, I have a question
Trying to
for
answer
you.
your question.
No.
I'm going to answer your question.
Sir.
I'm going to answer your question.
Sir, no,
So the answer to your question
we could
is
go
that
on all
the
night, sir.
conflict solicitor
We could
is
go on-
appointed and was appointed
go
at
on all
the
night.
reorganization meeting this year
could go on all
by
night.
the entire
Yeah, we could
council
go on.
unanimously.
Yeah, okay, I'll be singing
Thank
the
you.
song. Sir, who's running this meeting?
It's supposed to be the chair, but you asked a question. I answered your question.
No, I asked the question to the chair.
Yeah, but I answered it.
No. I asked the question
And
to
I
the
answered
chair.
because it's a legal question, and I answered it.
Chair, who appoints the conflict lawyer?
I think the solicitor had already answered that. It was
I didn't hear
selected
him.
by
I didn't
council
hear him.
at
Can
the
you repeat
reorg
it?
meeting.
Were you listening to him? Can you repeat it? Who appoints the conflict lawyer?
I'm not going to get up here and debate with you.
My God,
all right?
what are you doing there?
You're not, what am I doing here? I'm
Can you find
listening to the public.
stronger
but-
person? It's a simple question. Who appoints the conflict lawyer?
Mr. Perry, the question's been asked and has been answered.
My goodness.
We're going to move on to the next speaker, please.
You know, these meetings are shown all over the world. You have a family overseas, in another country, maybe in another state, another town. Have you been asked a question, or anyone here, are you proud of this town? When they see this, we need stronger people. At least someone that can answer a simple question.
Question was answered, sir.
Sir, Mr. Perry, give you another chance.
It was answered, okay?
Wow.
Let's go with the next speaker, please.
How can I get a written transcript of this meeting?
Would you say your name again, sir? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I was up here before. James Wakeman, 23 Silver Birch Road,
Okay, thank you.
Washington Township. James Wakeman Sr., W-A-K-E-M-E-N.
Thank you, sir.
How can I get a written transcript of this meeting?
If you want the CD, I can certainly give it to you. If you want a written transcript, I will have to determine the fee, file an Oprah, and I'll let you know how much it'll cost
I'll
you.
take the video.
The video or the CD is 66 cents
CD.
each.
CD.
Just come in and file an Oprah, and I'll be more than glad to burn it for you. And you'll have it within the 7 days, and it'll cost you 66 cents.
Okay, thank you. I did want to come up and comment also that if you truly believe you're representing the people of Washington Township, the simple way to do that is to let it go to the vote that was suggested earlier.
Ralph Campana, 2 Pear Tree Place. I just want to say this. I've been coming to the meetings for not that many years, a little less than a year and a half. My thing is, it seems to be a lot
Please be
of...
quiet in the back. I'm sorry.
That's okay. There seems to be a lot of the word litigation. I know we live in a very litigious state, so I guess it's not unusual. I don't think that this particular ordinance that we're trying to get you folks to see the way we want to see it, we want it where the caps are, there are no, just hire somebody for a certain amount and then they get raises every year. I don't think it's the money. If I can, Mr. Councilman Longfellow, I believe, said at the last meeting, tax-wise, is only going to affect the average taxpayer How much per year? About, I'm not going to quote you to the penny, roughly how much was it? It was a very small amount, $2, $1.75. It was very minimal, was it not?
I don't have the number.
Remember, you threw a number out, and I said, wow, it's really not a lot of money. If we gave everybody the cap, it was another $46,000 or $50,000 for the township. It wasn't that much more.
No, it's not much.
It was a minimum.
Yes.
I don't really think that is the sticking point with a lot of people. I think it's like enough is enough, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking at it. Like we cut a line in the sand, like it's this way or the other. I think that's more what it is. Because again, another $2 a year out of everybody, they wouldn't even be here. I think it's like we have to stop. We have to look for a way to cut back on things somehow, some way, and this is a starting point.
I mean, if I may.
Yeah, you can.
I
Yeah,
really
go ahead.
think the municipal government is doing that. I mean, I know some of you don't believe that, but if you actually nail down on your taxes, the municipal government here has been very frugal over the 3 years that I've been here. This is the first time we've had a real increase like this in the salary range. Last year, no salary range increase, zero. There was not $1 to any of them.
I don't want to
I'm just
see
saying,
anybody go backwards.
We've really tried to nail this down to not increase taxes over the last 3 years, this being the third. And we will continue to do that. So I just think it's a false narrative to say that we're raising taxes astronomically. We're really trying to button down and get them under control as best we can and raise our revenues as best we can.
Look,
I think
there's a-
those are our main focuses, and that's what we've done here.
There's a lot of things in the township, and I can point fingers at, we could all point fingers at one another, how we can save money. But for instance is this, and again, I don't want anyone to lose their job, but here is an example of small town, a little bit of waste in the town. We're allowed to water on even and odd days in the summertime. When the timer is automatically on for your sprinkler system and the month changes, you only have 30 months in the day, you're on an odd day, even day, it gets screwed up. We pay somebody to drive around the township.
If I may.
Yes.
The Washington Township, this governing body, does not pay anyone to do that. That is the MUA. It's a separate entity.
Is that coming out of my taxes?
No.
Oh, it doesn't? Oh, it doesn't?
No, it comes out of your water bill.
Oh, okay, so we don't, oh, you just answered my question.
I'm happy
No,
to.
I'm saying, give it to the police department.
No,
is what
look, I
I'm saying.
understand. Look, I will nail down on the budget as hard as I can, as I have over the last 2 years. The last 2 years, I've gone through every single line, and we've nailed down every single line, and I've talked to the police chief, director of public works, and we're going to do that again this year. And last year it was 0%, and I know you're going to say that there was some surplus taken, and yes, there was. But that was the first time in 7 years that there wasn't a salary increase. If we could do that again this year, that's a win. That's a big win for the township and the taxpayers, because there's no other municipalities out here that are doing this. The people who were able to keep the taxes down over the last decade have red light cameras, and I don't think anyone in here wanted red light cameras. Those municipalities have raised their taxes astronomically over the last several years because they no longer have that source of revenue. So just take everything into account. Don't just nail us to a cross over one salary ordinance, because we're doing a lot of good that you don't all see. We go to a lot environmental commission
But the
meetings.
town
We go-
doesn't look better. I know you're saying we're doing good, but it doesn't. Look at the roads.
I know.
I'll
Look,
be
Black
more than
Horse
happy-
Pike, we're going to get the Black Horse Pike paved this
The
year.
Black Horse
We're
Pike
gonna
isn't
do a
even
lot of
ours. Isn't
other
that
things.
county or
Yes,
state?
but that is our main artery. It is. It's our main artery. But we have to advocate to get things like this
I've been
done.
asking for a year and a half just to make the Pike look a little bit better.
I know,
The
and-
grass is this high. I was going to get out there myself and
And
do
the
it, but I
mayor
don't
and
want to
I
get
have
run
talked
over.
about that. And look, grass isn't growing right now. We're going to start working on that. It's the winter. You know, there's only so much we can do. I have to be honest, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of cooperation in the last administration. This administration has been phenomenal.
All right,
Snow
let's make it
removal,
happen.
they were phenomenal. I got the first report that I ever got from any business administrator. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to get these things under control. So you give this administration a chance. That's all I'm asking. That's it.
The other thing with the police department, with the police cars, I think every officer should have a car in their driveway, because God forbid we do have an emergency. They don't have time to leave their house, go to the police department, get their equipment, and help save my butt if God forbid something happens in the town. Thank you.
Understood.
Pete Delrello, 236 Salina Road. If you remember, I was in here, I spoke last council meeting with my son, little blonde-haired, good-looking guy. So when we left, he said, you know, Dad, what do we do? I said, well, we fight. He said, well, how do we fight, Dad? I said, we go house to house, and we get people to sign this petition, and we say to people, when is enough enough? He said, Dad, I'm in. So we went 2 Sundays ago, and we got them all bundled up, and Dad, I got to go to the bathroom. All right. Get them all on the bundle again. He goes to the bathroom. That and his snack. Okay, so by the time we get outside, it's too cold. He goes back inside. So I get out there, and Luke came with me, and I said to myself, what do you do? How do you do this? How do you go to people's houses and knock on their doors on a Sunday, right? Who wants to be bothered on a Sunday, right? I'm not selling religion. I don't look like I am, right? Who really wants to really deal with this, right? Who's even going to come to the door, right? So, Mayor, this is crazy. So who comes to the door? The residents, right? So they come to the door, and they say, can I help you? Yeah. Are you selling? No, I'm not selling religion. No, nothing else. This is what's going on. Really? I can't pay anymore. So you say to yourself, Mayor, you get to a development, you say, I can knock this out, 15, 20 minutes? You spend 15, 20 minutes at one house, and you hear what the people have to say. And they didn't say, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? They didn't care. There's no political lines. It's blurred because it's just people. We're all just people. You have to go knock on those doors. You can't just sit here and think that because you're making decisions here, you're not listening to them. Not one person came to the door and said no. So those silences are very valid. Those people did not say no. And the ones that didn't come to the door, sorry, my parents are at work right now. They can't come. They're not home. Well, why are they at work? They have to pay the taxes. So you have to understand what people are really saying here. Forget about political lines. Let's just forget about that for a second. Go knock on the doors. Every single person, everybody that answered that door said the same thing. Where do I sign? Let me tell you about this. I moved here 10 years ago. My taxes were this. Now they're this. So that's what you're missing. Forget about the political nonsense. Just listen to the people. Go knock on their doors, Mayor. Go knock on their doors and ask them, hi, I'm the mayor. Oh, hi, Mayor, how are you? Come on in. Yeah, let me just ask you. Every single resident will tell you the same thing. There's no political lines out there, Mayor. They didn't care if I was a Democrat or Republican. They didn't care. They only cared about how we can stop it. How can we improve the town? Please, I can't pay another cent. $2, $10, $50, $500, who cares? Can't pay anymore. I left work early. I went there. I did that. Mayor, I spent 10, 15 minutes at each house. Each person said, and good luck. Hey, thanks for taking up the cause. I can't because I have to work. But thank you for taking up the cause. Thank you for doing that. That's what you need to do. You need to get out from the podium. And you need to go knock on those doors. And you need to find out what they really think. Because, yeah, there's a collection of people here. There's a side on each side. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's those people who really feel it. They just can't make it here for whatever reason. And this is why people hate politics. This is really why. They hate this kind of stuff. But when you go to their door and you bring that to their doorstep, they're ready to sign. Those signatures are very real. And they're very real people out there. And they were no problem signing that. And there was no idea what political party they were part of. We never discussed it because they didn't care. We only affected their pocketbook or their wallet. And that needs to change. And that's what you can do, Mayor. I love what you had to say tonight, but you got to enforce it. It has to be real. It can't just be something that we talk about. Go to their doors. Go knock. You don't have to believe that people come up here. Go knock on their doors and find out for yourself. And then you'll have your answer of what people really think. Thank you.
Hi, Adria Curcio, 129 Lipzon. First, I wanted to speak to Ms. Pasqualone. I just want to commend you for the way you've carried yourself, for what you're doing. I really appreciate it, and I know a lot of other people appreciate it. You've handled yourself with maturity, and despite there's a lot of talk up here tonight about personal attacks and professionalism, and what I saw on video from the last meeting, you owed a public apology. Maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't, but that was a personal attack as well. So, I appreciate it. Keep it up. I know it's going to be hard. There's only two of you fighting for half the township. But I wanted to say that. I also wanted to say, with regard, I wasn't going to mention anything, but people are bringing up, the salary ordinance. If you're going to raise my taxes, that's fine. Raise it for something that benefits me. I work in the private sector, always have. I didn't get a raise last year. My company couldn't afford to give the Christmas bonus out. Last company I worked for 4 years in a row, 4 years, I didn't receive a salary increase. Yet my health insurance went from $250 a month to $1,100 a month with no salary increase. I don't make anywhere near six figures. I make less than an average median teacher in this township, and I take home 58% of my paycheck. 58%. Because of insurance I have to pay and taxes I have to pay and trying to plan for my retirement. If I retired at 55, 56, as a public employee could, and I withdrew. I've been contributing 10% of my salary to my 401k for the last 23 years. If I continued to contribute that till I was 55 and retired, I have enough money to live for 8 years, drawing a teacher's pension. So that's the people that are out here saying, you know, why are you giving yourself more money when the rest of us are struggling like that? I mean, there's no, I mean, do you understand that? Do you know that? Do you know that's what's going on out there? You're right. You know, and the other thing is, it's like you want to give yourselves more money, you want to tax us more, but, you know, there are township residents that you are well aware of that are using high school facilities and park facilities to run private businesses, cash businesses, not paying any rent for those facilities, not paying you a dime. And that's okay. And I've made you aware of it. I've made the schools aware of it, and nobody cares. I came here, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when you were doing your paving, you repaved my development. Said because there were potholes, Wedgwood Farms. Roads were fine. There were 2 indentations. Not only did you repave the development, you also went around and replaced sidewalk and dug trees out for residents who didn't maintain their property. Had nothing to do with the road. You didn't touch the curb that led up to the road, but you people, you know how a sidewalk gets pitted when you put too much lime out or use too much lawn chemicals? Somebody pitted their sidewalk, so you dug it up and replaced it for them. Our tax dollars went for that. I had, meanwhile, not to mention, there's, in front of my house, there's a tree with a root growing out into the street's being heaved up, and the township engineer didn't think that that was necessary to fix. That was okay. The root is still exposed. You paved right over a tree root. There's the road with tree root coming out of it. Yet the piece of curb next to that, which was perfectly fine, they had to replace because there's water puddling. So I sent them a picture after they replaced the curb and did the new road, and guess what? There's a big puddle of water there. They didn't fix that. I mean, it was a huge waste of money. So you spend money on that, and then you want us to give you money for salary increases. How can you really look at us and ask for that? Really? By the way, the former mayor did say that they were going to address that, replace that, fix that tree, and fix the curb and fix the road, and they never did. Never heard a word from them after she personally called me and said she was going to do it. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Mr. McBride, before you start, Mr. McBride's going to be the last speaker tonight. We're going to wrap this up. Go ahead, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I will say I respect, but I don't agree with your decision. Last speaker spoke about the engineer and wasn't satisfied with the quality of the job. So I don't get sued. I'm going to read this from the newspaper. It's from the Ocean County Politics. It's dated September 8th, 2016. Leaked documents, :
Excuse me 1 second. I just want to know, what are you reading from, sir?
I'm reading from a news organization called Ocean County Politics. It is based at P.O. Box 32, Lanaka Harbor, New Jersey, 08734, phone number 848-667-0840.
Do you know if that's credentialed media or somebody's website or a blog?
It references an active FBI investigation. You can Oprah the chief of the Little Egg Harbor Police Department for the investigation.
I'm just asking the source that you're quoting. Is it credentialed media or is it a blogger or a website?
This does not appear to be a blog, sir. I'll allow you to see what's on my phone if you'd like to see it.
That's fine. I just wanted you to answer the question.
Okay. Well, they do have on Scrib, they have a PDF document from the Little Egg Harbor Police Department. This is from Chief Busby in Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey. There is a concomitant investigation between the Little Egg Harbor Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the headline says, leaked documents, : Remington and Vernick engineers paid off embattled former MUA boss with pricey sports tickets. I am not going to opine on what the news source says. I'm asking this council that since Remington and Vernick are our engineers, I would ask you guys to investigate if the allegations of the FBI complaint have had merit. If they have had merit, I am asking this council to adopt by ordinance a resolution, adopt by ordinance a corporate integrity agreement. This is very common in the pharmaceutical industry, that bars the engineer from any political donations anywhere in the state, Republican or Democrat, for a period of 20 years. If they want our business, they need to stop donating to the political coffers. That's all I'm asking you to do. You can read the article yourself, you can find out from the FBI through a FOIA request, or you can Oprah the Little Egg Harbor Police Department to verify the veracity of what's in this report.
Would you be able to send that to me to my township email address?
I think you can find it yourself. I put it in the record.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn from the public meeting.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
We have a motion.
You have a motion, is there a second?
There's a motion to close the public portion. Is there a second?
Just let him go as the last one.
All right, Chet, you'll be the last speaker.
Thank you very much. Chet Nowacki, Heritage Valley, Washington Township. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor for her dissertation tonight. I found it refreshing that she came out and she gave us the first quarter update. One of the things I would like to address, you said that you update the web page on a constant basis. I went and I looked at the budget meeting today on the web page, and the details are quite different from what you described tonight. For example, it says that only 5 residents are allowed to attend a meeting at a time. The meeting will be in the flag room, which is a little tiny conference room across in this building. So if you could just update that and give the correct dates. And it also says that all the meetings will be at 11 a.m. So if we could look into that and get the correct ones up, because I'd love to be a participant in the budget talks.
No problem.
One other thing that was brought up tonight, it was talked about the IT department and the possibility of putting podcasts on the website for the township. I would suggest or ask that you talk to the school board on that, and maybe you could come up with some kind of a shared service agreement, because the school board has their podcasts, whether it be a regular meeting or a work session, it goes back 2 years. So I know that you do have some service agreements that are shared with the Board of Education at the current time, and I would just like to ask you to look into that. Maybe you could save some money and at the same time give all the residents the opportunity to see meetings not only from, this month, last month, or whatever, but I think it would also save you a ton of trouble rather than burning CDs from last year's meetings that you're going to have to go and look up. So the meetings are someplace, they must be, if you can look back that far and, find it. As far as the mayor said on the first quarter, one of the points that she brought up, and I thought that it was refreshing that she's trying to do this, is replenish the surplus account. And with your permission, Mr. Vice President, I would just like to ask the mayor just one example of how you plan on replenishing the surplus.
I don't have that information with me. Thank you for the question. I'll make sure that we get that information out to you.
Okay, thank you. Another quick point that I'd like to touch on, you talked about human resources, and I think that that's a great idea. I'd like to commend councilperson, or councilman, I'm trying to be politically correct, Longfellow and Fazio, because they said that they were going to look into this. Will they be working in tandem with your new resource officer, or how? Do we have an idea how that's going to work?
I plan on reaching out, yes. I mean, It
Okay.
would be foolish not to. Then they're going to be the ones enforcing it, so we'll definitely have that conversation.
Awesome. One thing I would like to recommend or suggest to you is that if you're going to hire a new resource officer or a human resources officer, I would suggest, or I would humbly ask, that you put it out there for the public and that you would hire someone from the town, because I know that there's a lot of people in town right now that are unemployed, and if I were to hazard a guess, I would say that there's probably someone in town right now looking for a human resources position. And might I remind everyone that that's disposable income, that's money that's going to be earned in this town and spent in this town.
we basically or briefly talked about cars. Now, I understand that we can't do anything but lease a police car because only the police cars are used by the police. So we would lease those cars. For all the rest of the cars that we have in our fleet, I know in my industry, we've done away with company cars a long time ago. We all use our personal cars, and as far as that goes, we just get a car allowance. Anything, the difference between what the car allowance that my company gives me and the amount that's authorized or allowed by the federal government, I do take out on my taxes. But I would ask that we stop leasing cars, except for the police or fire or emergency vehicles, which have different specifications, and let all of our other employees use their personal cars and just give them some kind of a car allowance. Let them have the headache of the maintenance, just like I do with my personal car, but just let's stop leasing. Finally, Mr. Platt, I don't mean to pick on you, but I find it a little bit, I can't even say amusing, that you said that you were recusing yourself tonight, and in that sentence, you recused yourself from talking about certain legal issues, and I won't even bring it up because I know that you're not going to comment on it. But after you recused yourself, in the very next sentence, you told counsel what to do. I mean, you can't recuse yourself and then in the next sentence tell them what to do.
Certainly I can. I was talking to... Sir, you're not an attorney.
Okay.
I recuse myself from the legal issue with respect to the petitions. I certainly am here tonight as a township solicitor giving them advice about process. You need to understand the difference between substance and process.
Well, like you say, I'm not a lawyer and I won't debate that.
Thank you.
Check your time's up. Your 5 minutes is up.
Just two more pieces.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. As far as the voting records are concerned, I contacted the Board of Elections. I talked to Carolyn Hawkins, and I asked her for all registered voters in Washington Township. All. And I was very specific on all. Not inactive. I said all. I want inactive, I want active, and I want all parties. The figure that she gave me was 34,160, which I did send to Mr. Selb, and I also submitted an Oprah request to see the file that he currently has. I'd like to compare the two files and find out what additional people were added after my count. And the very last thing I'm going to say, and I'm not directing this to anybody, we had a gentleman come up tonight, and he was complaining about personal attacks to people. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I was on the school board for quite a number of years. I voted my conscience for what I thought was best for Washington Township, for our school district. Like tonight, Mr. Abbott said that he voted against the budget. There were many times I voted against the budget too, because I didn't think that there was money in there that was being well spent. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've been attacked, my wife's been attacked, my family's been attacked, and the only thing is I've been attacked on every kind of social media you can have. And I never sued anybody. If I did, I would be the richest person in this room. Okay. So what they used to tell me was, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
All right, time's up. Thank you. Okay, I make the motion to close the meeting for public comment.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I just wanted to make one last announcement that I forgot to make in my reports, that the Shred event is on April 8th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Municipal Building parking lot. Free to any township residents that are paying attention. So, have a great night.
Motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.